What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cardio Book Review with yours truly, Jeff Rock, where I read books written by my fellow indie authors and I read them while I'm doing my cardio workout on my weight loss and fitness journey. And I share with you my review, my thoughts, my experience while reading it, and let you know what you think and try to convince you guys to get out there and buy these books and read them either along with me or after I read it, because all the books that I've read so far are certainly worth it. So, the review that you're about to see is for E.A. Copen's Death Rites. So, Death Rites is book one in the Lazarus Codex, and it's written by E.A. Copens. It's an urban fantasy with magic and necromancy and voodoo and wizards and stuff like that, in like a modern day world where it could possibly exist. It's kind of like the real world, where some people believe in magic and voodoo and things like that, and it takes place in New Orleans, so it's very believable. We've all seen movies, TV shows, read books about the stuff that goes on in New Orleans. I mean, I know that my fiance is a big fan of the Vampire Diaries and the originals takes place in New Orleans, so hey, it's possible, right? So, the main character is a necromancing wizard named Lazarus Kerrigan, and henceforth we'll be calling him Laz because that's what he likes to be called in the book. And he's a necromancer, so basically, with my experience with tabletop gaming and other games such as that, I assume that it's going to be dealing with death, and he's going to be able to have some sort of interaction with the death, maybe a little bit of control with people who have already died. Spirits and the like, or he might even be able to raise the dead or something along those lines. That's what I'm expecting from this book. So I'm going to be hitting my cardio sessions, and I'm going to be leaving reviews after my cardio sessions. So until I get on that, so I'm going to go ahead and get on that, and I'll let you know what I think about each session. So I'll see you when I get there. So for those of you who are unaware, I'm a contractor and I work overseas right now, and due to certain restraints, I'm going to go ahead and record my first part of the review. This is after reading a couple sessions, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. We meet Lazarus Kerrigan, and he's leaving for work for the day. He's got a real hot date that he's getting ready to go on, and he meets this young lady who we don't know anything about, but says he needs his help, and he kind of brushes her off and leaves. And you know, the next person that we meet is a former client of Kerrigan's. His name is Darius, and Darius he hired Laz to talk to his dead mother and try to find out where her most prized possession is in the real world. And Darius thinks her most prized possession is going to be money, but it's really not. It's drawings and artwork that he's made throughout his life that he gave to his mother, and it's really cool because Darius is kind of like a gangster, and his mother wants to keep, memories when he was, innocent and younger, and I like the little turn that EA puts in that. And EA paints this really great world for us throughout all the description and everything she talks about in the book. It's first person narrative through Laz's persona, so it's really great the way that she's able to utilize all the tools to bring the world alive. And then he goes into his apartment, and a few minutes later, his girlfriend Odette shows up. And their interaction is great, playful, flirting. It's really great. She has a really good interaction. The way she uses the dialogue is really good because every single time that people talk, they have a different voice, and that's something a lot of authors miss out on. A lot of times you'll be reading a book and you'll be hearing the same voice in your head as you're reading the dialogue. But with EA, it's just seriously everything that you read has its own tone, its own cadence, and it's very personalized. So when you're reading the dialogue really sounds like it's coming from different people in your mind. So very good writing when it comes to dialogue. Love her style with that. So we soon learn that with Laz just dismissing this girl the day before, it comes back to bite him in the ass. It turns out her name is Brandy. And Brandy ends up the next day dead on the doorstep of his shop, completely flattened, like run over by a steamroller. So there's police everywhere, and that's where we meet the next character. It is Detective Emma Knight, and she's a skeptic and doesn't believe anything that Kerrigan says, and just everything is unbelievable for her. And their interaction's really cool because he kind of wants to try to prove that he can talk to the dead, and she's just, she's a skeptic, so she doesn't really care what he says. And really, really good insights to his ability when he runs into another cop who has a drinking problem, and he gets this feeling and just tells him his dead ex-wife wants him to stop drinking. And it really, really cool little insights to his ability, and I love the way she throws those in there. And of course, no book or story would be complete without the main character being somehow persecuted for some reason. And of course, this Detective Knight believes that he is the killer of this girl Brandy, and goes to arrest him while he's having a seance to try to call Brandy forward so he can get information about who killed her. And of course, they break in right when it's going on, and they arrest him, and they're bringing him to the precinct to get booked. And as they're going, he gets this feeling from Brandy that tells him that there's a fire at a house that they need to go to, and there's a radio call telling them to go there. And they go there, and of course he has to help Detective Knight. And they go into the fire, and he pulls her out of the fire. Really, really, I'm very briefly going into things, but somehow she dies, and it's really interesting because it doesn't make any sense to us as a reader at this point, and I really hope that we get to understand it a little bit later on. But in order to save her, he's got to give her the kiss of life, or the breath of life, which is basically like kissing, and it ends up being that he passes out and goes to a place where he meets his Reaper, someone that he's met before in the past, and it's a demigoddess named Persephone. And really great descriptions here. Just, she's absolutely gorgeous, but he knows that she's the Reaper and respects and fears her, and he needs the Reaper's kiss because he gave away some of his essence to save her, to save Detective Knight. So the Reaper's kiss takes away some of his life essence, and great little insights there. I love it. We learn that there's going to be another character called the Baron. Have no understanding of who he is, what he's about, or anything like that, but you get a sense that it's not going to be something enjoyable for him. So again, just very eloquent writing. Dialogue is top notch, just incredible dialogue. Love the dialogue. And EA just does a great job around with the entire story and world building. So getting to today's reading session, that was all a couple other reading sessions. Today's reading session, EA came that close to make me lose my mind. And what ends up happening is Odette ends up disappearing, and they go to her apartment to try to find out what's going on, and there's cops there, and apparently there's a dead body. And they go in the way that it's being described in the book, I was convinced it was Odette, and I was about to be pissed. I'm like, come on, you can't kill her. You gotta have something. I was just like, oh man. But then he says it's not her. So he also gets hit with a magical ward, which hurts him, and he's got a battle to get free from it. Really cool insights on things, but we don't know who's doing any of this. So they end up going back to he has issues with communing with the woman who is dead, and Knight ends up taking her back to her house, and she's got this greenhouse in the back of her house, and it's warm because when he does his stuff, he gets real cold and he needs to warm up, and he needs to have time to recover. But the coolest thing, and I really love this, is as they were walking to the back, he reaches out and touches a shrub and drains the life essence from the shrub, and he heals himself a little bit. I love that. That's exactly what you think a necromancer would do. That's the kind of stuff that, in fantasy and urban fantasy and tabletop gaming, that's the kind of stuff that you would expect a necromancer to be able to do. So the next day, after he recovers a little bit, they're going to go to his house to try to do a seance to talk to Brandy again. But as he walks in, he's hit with another ward that hurts him and freezes him in place. And we meet the Baron. And also there is his Laz's teacher, his wizard, his wizard teacher, and his name's Pony. And they start talking to him, and this is where the really cool thing comes. The teacher's Aloha, and I believe that's how you pronounce it, Aloha, which is like a an intermediary between the gods and people. Has special powers and things like that. And the Baron is having trouble with the gods interfering with human life, and he wants Laz to become Death. And I do believe that it means the Death, the Reaper, the Grim Reaper, in order to help fight against the gods interfering with human life. And I was like, oh my god, that's pretty sick. I can't wait to see what happens from there. But that's what I've read so far, and I can't wait to read more. I'm excited about this book, way more excited than I thought I was going to be in the first place. This isn't the type of the book I usually read, and so the more I'm reading, I'm just getting more and more excited. I love the book. E.A. Copens has done a great job building this world. Dialogue is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to this book. So until my next session, guys, I can't wait to tell you about it. Pick up this book, read it. It's totally worth it. Links are going to be in the description. So pick it up, read it. You won't be disappointed. See you next session, guys. All right, so I finished the book today, and let me get to the review and pick up right where we left off. So we left off with the Baron and Pony asking Laz to become Death, become one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, and he turned it down. Well, the Baron leaves and leaves Pony there kind of awkward, and all of a sudden time comes back because the Baron had paused time when he was giving the offer, and Emma comes in and there's confusion and everything like that, and Pony leaves, and Laz just kind of brushes it off, and they go ahead with the seance where they're trying to call forth Brandy where they can get some answers, but of course he tries to call them and Brandy doesn't answer. So they end up going to the funeral home, which is hilarious because Laz doesn't like dead stuff like cemeteries and funeral homes and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. But it ends up that a woman named Vesta, who we met previously in the book, but I didn't think was going to be a major character, which I should have figured that out at the time. And Vesta is a woman who is helping troubled girls fix their lives by being like born again virgins or something along those lines. And so what they end up doing is they end up going back to Vesta's house to ask her some questions and try to find some more things out. And when they go, Laz kind of disappears, has to use the bathroom, and ends up climbing up a tree to get into a second floor room, which is like a secret room, while Emma and her partner Moses, yes, 2 names, I thought that was funny, which also Moses, for some reason I just thought, maybe he's going to be a little two-faced or backstabby, which I'll get into in a little bit. But he goes into this room on the second floor, which is like a secret room, and it's hilarious because it's filled with phallic objects. And it's funny because he's trying to find out if any of them are magic, and he finds out that one of them is, and he ends up reaching and grabbing it just when one of the security guys walks in when he's grabbing onto this phallic object, which I thought was hilarious. And they end up getting kicked out and asked to leave, and one of the security guys kind of wants to basically whoop his butt, but Vesta ends up telling him not to, which is a little interesting. Sets up stuff for later, which I thought was great. I love the phallic issue. I thought it was funny. Which leads me to one of the problems that I have. It's not a major problem that I have with the book. It's just something I didn't like as much as the rest of it is Emma, the detective. Her attitude towards Laz the whole time just kind of confuses me. Keeps asking him for help and ends up treating him like crap the whole time, even hitting him one time, punching him in the face. I didn't like it. I didn't like her character. I didn't like the interaction between the two. The more interaction that happened, the more her attitude came out, and the more she basically treated Laz so poorly, just rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't love that character, and just, I don't know, something about it just I didn't like. I just did not like her at all. Now the partner Moses fully supported Laz, fully told him he was there to help him, believed everything he said, believed in his powers, which led me to think he's being so supportive, maybe like luring him in to be able to flip it off, and be like, hey, I'm really a bad guy at the end. And that's what I'm expecting at this point. Just something doesn't feel right. So that's just my little critique, something that I didn't love about the story. It's just Emma. So when they leave Vesta's place, Laz is at wit's end, and he decides for some reason that he's going to go to Darius for help. Darius, if you remember, is a former client who ended up having his boys beat the crap out of him, which is another thing I just didn't get. I mean, I understand Laz had no help, no money, nothing at this time. The only person he really had was Emma and Moses, and then Odette is missing, and he was at wit's end, and he ended up just going to Darius. It just didn't make any sense. But before he did a little bit of research, and he found out this Vesta is actually a Greek goddess, the Vestial Virgins, and that's what she was basically turning the girls into, or Vestial Virgins, people who kept her flame going and supporting her and being her priestesses. So now he knows that she's a goddess and has to deal with that, and goes to Darius to get some help. And the second part is the whole Darius thing. It made no sense to me. I didn't really love it, but I understood where she was going with it, and I accepted it. And when he went to go see Darius, his attitude completely changed. It changed to the point where he was now supportive and friendly towards him, because when he confronted him for a second time in a bar underneath his apartment, the owner of the bar and his landlord, Paula, who's a fae, ended up sending him away. And apparently he found a dog as he was leaving, and his whole life changed because of this dog. He loved this dog. This dog became, his life, and it was just very topsy-turvy, and it just very strange in the way it worked out. So because of this dog and this change of attitude, Darius agrees to help him. And Laz goes back to visit with Pony at the strip club where Brandy, who died very much earlier in the book, was working. And he goes there to try to meet back up with the Baron, because now he wants to accept the offer. But before any of that can happen, two feds come in and start shooting at him, and they have to flee. And after they flee, and it's, extreme circumstance, Pony explains to them they were not feds, they were fae. They were trying to kill them. So, little interesting. I actually thought it was pretty interesting. I thought the interaction between Pony and Laz was great. I loved it. I loved the former teacher and apprentice and the anger and stuff. I actually enjoyed that a lot. So he ends up deciding that he's going to take the power of death as be one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. And in order to get the power, he has to experience death in every way possible. And I thought this was one place where EA could have actually gone into a little bit more description, a much more vivid explanation of what he was going through. She did explain it pretty well, and I just thought that it was an opportunity where she could describe far more vividly the death and the anguish that he was feeling through each type of death. It was good. It got the point across, but I just thought there could have been a little bit more description. Didn't take away from the book, but I just think it's an opportunity that could have been explored a little bit more. But still, it was, now he's got these superpowers. He doesn't know how to use them, doesn't know what they are, and he's still recovering from the shock. So they go to confront Vesta, and this is where the climax begins. Now, I actually thought the climax was great. I thought the fights were great. I thought the way that he learned how to use his powers, basically ripping out their souls. I thought it was great. I thought it was just very very out there, something I didn't expect, but something that he was able to, or EA was able to put across, that Laz was able to use his powers to do this. And then what happens is during the major climax, he ends up getting stabbed and basically thinks he's dying, and he passes out, and he ends up back with Persephone, his Reaper. And she's sad and she's crying, and he thinks it's because he's dead and he's ready to go to the afterlife. And she says, no, you're not dead. They're going to revive you in just a minute. But she can't be his Reaper anymore, and it makes her sad. So it ends up being that she can't be his Reaper because she's too close to him. And at this point, I said, maybe Odette is Persephone in human form or something along those lines, because that would make sense. She disappears for the whole book and no idea where she is. So she ends up giving him a very passionate kiss, which was funny because he was expecting the Reaper's kiss, which was painful, and she was all on kissing him, and I thought that was very interesting and creative. I thought I liked it. I thought it was funny. In the confusion that he felt, I just thought it was great. So he ends up being revived, goes to the hospital, spends some time in ICU, and then he ends up going home later on, and he opens the door to find who? Odette. And it was driving me crazy the whole book. I wanted to know what was going on with Odette. I needed to know. I had all these theories and these ideas, and they all were wrong. It ends up being, spoiler alert, if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen to this. She's a fae. But not just a fae, the daughter of a queen. So she's a princess fae. And the whole idea is that now she has to leave because her mother recalled her. I thought it was a great ending for this book. I was blown away. It put the emotion back into Laz, because Laz truly loved her, and this emotion was vivid. I was just like, this was great ending. The climax was good, but this was a perfect, great ending. Loved it and really enjoyed this book. So now for the rating. Now, I enjoyed this book. It had a couple of issues that I didn't absolutely love, but I'm going to go ahead and give this 4.5 flexes. The reason it's not getting 5 is because of Emma and the strange bringing in of Darius. I didn't love those two things. It didn't really detract from the book, but just something about those two things I didn't love. So instead of a 5, I'm getting 4.5 flexes. Great book, exceptional read, and it's part of a series, so I can only imagine what EA is going to be doing with these characters. Maybe in a future book, I'll love Emma, but right now, I just don't like her. But I don't like her interaction with Laz. That was my big problem. And the unexpected bringing in of Darius, I just didn't absolutely love those things. So like I said, as part of the Lazarus Codex series of books, and I'm excited. I'm going to be reading the other ones. I highly recommend this book. This book was a great read, and I loved it, and I'm going to read the rest of the series when I have the time. So get the book, read it. It's really worth it. There's a lot of stuff I left out, stuff that's very worthy of reading. So in all honesty, I love the book. I think you should buy it, and if you've read it or if you're going to read it, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the review. Let me know what you think of reading it, because I love the book. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Make sure you comment below if you have anything extra to add. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss a review, because I'm going to be coming out with them constantly. So, I loved it. And EA did a great job, and I can't wait to read the books in the series to continue. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and close it out here, and if you, like me, are on a weight loss journey or a fitness transformation or anything of the type, you are worth the blood, sweat, and tears it's going to take to get you to your final goal, and I believe you can do it. So until next review, guys, peace out. Love y'all.